Hello and welcome to School Matters. Thanks for joining us for a new edition. Our guest today is Ryan Etheridge. Welcome to you. And this is not your first time on our show, so I actually should say welcome back. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Now you are working on a special project with Cleveland County Schools, so I want you to, if you will, remind our audience what that is and what your job title is.
Sure. So Cleveland County Schools is a recipient of a grant through SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. And this grant has gone out to 28 states, and each of those states picks 3 pilot counties. And Cleveland County Schools is a fortunate recipient to be one of the pilot counties. Mm-hmm. And so as part of this grant, what we're looking at is what are we able to provide as a whole system to support students' social-emotional needs, their mental health needs, with the ultimate goal of hopefully down the road reducing substance use in our communities. And so my job with this is I'm an evaluator. So I'm looking at the data, trying to figure out what our outcomes should be and what they are. And then also I'm a coach. And so I go into schools and I work with parents and I work with students. And we're just trying to teach skills, sometimes through programs and sometimes through other methods, just to teach some skills that would be great for our community and our students and our schools to have on a day-to-day basis. And so I love both parts of that, the data and the working with people.
Now, when we spoke the first time, you were kind of just getting started, really getting things rolling. So kind of update us on where you're at right now.
Sure. So much has happened. It feels like every week we're put on a new committee. One of the things that's very interesting with the grant is as we design programs, as we initiate things, what we're trying to do is make sure they're sustainable so that after this grant ends, can we actually continue these programs later? And so what we're doing is we're meeting with a lot of counties around the state and committees around the state with the Department of Public Instruction or other school districts and just saying, here's what we're doing and here's how we're implementing it so that we can sustain it after the money goes away. Because what we want to do is make sure that at every step we're making sure these programs can continue. And so when we're meeting with the state mental health initiative, that's one of the things we're talking about is these are great programs, but what can we do to make sure these things last? Mm-hmm. And so we've been developing a lot of policies and procedures, but also looking at the financial aspect of that, how much training costs, what a training schedule is. And so that's been fun. And then we've also been going out to schools and coaching. And so we're doing something called the community resiliency model. So I think I mentioned that a little bit last time.
Yes.
And what that is what are we've got this resilience zone, right? Mm-hmm. And so in that resilience zone, when I'm in that zone, I can make good decisions for our students. They're ready to learn when they're in that zone. But sometimes you can be bumped high. Maybe you feel that blood pressure raising up, or your fists are clenched, and maybe you're a little closer to angry, or you're upset, or maybe you've been bumped down. And maybe you're just feeling a little down or disconnected, a little lower. And so what strategies can we use with our students, but also with ourselves to help us get back into that resilience zone? And so we've been training staff, we've been training with the Department of Social Services, and we're going to do these trainings. It's been going great, but then we're doing follow-up coaching. So we're going and saying, what's been going well? What do you maybe need some help with? What can we do to help this keep going? And so we're right in the middle of our 3rd round of coaching with our 5 pilot schools. But we're just excited. It's fun to get back in the schools for me and see staff and talk to students. And so that's been really fun. So we're doing the coaching and a lot of policy right now.
And you said there's 5 pilot schools.
That's right.
Which 5?
All right. So we have Shelby Intermediate School. Mm-hmm. We have Burns Middle School. Mm-hmm. We have Township 3. We have Washington. And we have Kings Mountain Intermediate School.
Okay. And talk about kind of the need for something like this, for this work to be done with students and parents and teachers. What kind of led to this or prompted the application for the grant and this work?
Yeah. You've seen, like growing up, my best teachers they had these tools like in their toolkit and they did it. And I was a teacher's kid. My parents were both math teachers, which people who know me know that makes sense. And I was always upset because there would be that kid in class and he would get to take a folder up to the front office. And I was like, man, I want to take that folder up to the front office. But what that teacher recognized is sometimes what students need is maybe I just need to take a small walk, and that helps me get back into my resilience zone and I can continue on with my day. And so that was part of their overall strategy to say, hey, instead of me having to yell at you or discipline you right now, maybe I can head that off by knowing who you are as a person, knowing what your zone is and helping you return back down to it. And for some students, that's getting a sip of water. Sometimes it's walking. Sometimes just sitting there and taking a second to breathe. I did that before taking like my SAT and ACT. I remember sitting down and being like, I am nervous. I feel tense. My blood pressure feels high. And I would just take some deep breathing to steady my nerves so that when I entered in that test, I was ready to actually show what I knew and not show my frustration or not show my anxiety or not show whatever else might come up if I wasn't in my zone. So in a school, you can imagine a lot of times kids are evaluated on maybe their worst day or maybe their worst emotion or their worst outburst. But me, maybe you, but my kids definitely in my family, what we see is that we all have this ebb and flow of our emotions, and we don't want to be judged on our worst day, but maybe just be a little more gracious. And sometimes with my kids, with myself, it's like, what could I have done in this situation to avoid that disciplinary action or what would have been bad? And so in schools, if you can help kids learn those new behaviors, they can stay in class longer, they learn more, they show you what they know, which is so important. When a teacher spent 180 days just pouring their life into a kid saying, I love you, I want you to do as well. And when that test comes up and that kid's anxious, we don't want them to demonstrate their anxiety on their test. We want them to demonstrate their knowledge. And so teaching them some skills to calm down and get back in that resilient zone can be very helpful.
Sounds like it. Lots of good tools and strategies to really help kids be successful. You want to talk about what social emotional learning is and why it's important?
That's right. Social emotional learning. So we were looking at an article recently from Forbes magazine, and it said, what are the top 10 skills that employers look for in their future employees? And the top 4 of them were not, how well do you know how to program? It wasn't, are you able to use a computer? It wasn't any of that. It was, are you able to work in a team? Are you able to accept coaching and change your behavior? And what we looked at is these are soft skills. These aren't things we're teaching in the academic portion. They're things that employers hope students just come in and know. And so when we think about social emotional learning skills, a lot of these are things that just make us prepared for whatever is going to come. And a lot of our students, we don't know what job they're going to have in 10 years. Those jobs might not even exist yet. But what we want to do is get them skills so that no matter where they end up, they're ready to take on a leadership role, to step in, be ready to learn, be coachable, and have hopefully a successful life where they have a little autonomy over where they can go and work and do. So when we think about social emotional learning, I'm like, these are the core skills to our core other skills. Of course, we're going to teach math and social studies and science and history. But if we don't also have these skills, we're just always battling with one another.
Right.
You got your emotions going on. I'm trying to teach. We got to find some way to make sure you're ready to learn so that when I give it to you, you can learn it.
Sounds like just some easy, practical things teachers can incorporate right into the curriculum and just keep rolling.
That's right. Exactly.
What is CASEL? Am I saying that right?
Yep, you said it right, CASEL. So CASEL is the Collaboration for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning.
CASEL.
CASEL. Look it up. It's a great website. And so what they've done is they've started collecting together a lot of the research and trying to just make practical strategies for school districts, for schools, for classrooms, but also for parents and students to start practicing and developing their social emotional skills. So they have 5 domains. I have a little chart here that we'll maybe be able to share out or link to. But they kind of break it down into 5 domains: self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. So when I was an administrator in a school, how many times did something end up being a disciplinary action that I had to take? When I think back, it's like, man, if that kid had just made a little bit of a different decision, how much different would that outcome have been? And I hated punishing kids, which, but sometimes things happen in schools and that was the outcome. But what we shifted toward is at every time thinking back and saying, what could we have done differently? What different decision could have been made so that it didn't end with this outcome? And I think the more we reinforce responsible decision making, I'm just using that as one of the domains as an example, how much better prepared will our kids be for whatever they face if they can just say, you know what, I'm going to stop, I'm going to think, and then I'll act.
You talked about the decision making, the responsible decision making. How do teachers promote that with their students? What are some specific things they can do?
That's really good. So in a classroom, when you're meeting with your class, sometimes it's just setting students up and saying, hey, we're about to transition to our math activity next. And so as you transition activity, I want you to think about how are you going to set up your station, who's going to lead the next session, where do your resources come from, what do you need to put back up. These are, when you think about those transitions and you help students think through their actions, it teaches that responsible decision making. Like, oh yes, I'm moving to the next activity. I need to make sure I close my notebook, put it back in my desk, put my pencil up, and then move on to the next activity. And we're just explicitly teaching those decision-making skills, because what we hope one day is when the teacher's not around, that kid makes that decision on their own.
Wow. Sounds so simple, but then when you think about it, the long-term benefits are great. What can parents do?
Oh, okay. So parents, the website is great. So there's a part of the website called Competent Parents, Competent Kids. It has a blog with lessons for parents to talk about with their kids. It has some videos on there, some activities, lots of games that reinforce social emotional learning skills. It has whole sections on responsible decision making or on relationship skills. So it's a great tool, great website for it.
What's the website again?
Okay, so it's called Competent Parents, Competent Kids.
So they can just Google that, just do a Google search.
Or go to Castle and it links straight to it and the resources for parents.
Sounds great.
One of the activities that struck me, and it really put things into context for me as I thought about my kids, is it said, all right, so think about your child. I'm going to use my middle child, Abe. So Abe is blank, 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 and blank. The highest compliment I can pay to my son is that he or she is blank, and I can certainly say that about my child. And so I think what characteristics do I want to put in there for my child? Abe is so smart. He's so funny. He's so kind to his little brother who annoys him to death. He's so patient. And these are great skills. But most of those that I listed were more social emotional learning skills when I think about my kid. And so for my son, Abe, I can think, how can I reinforce these skills at home? How can I help him be more patient? Or if I see him getting frustrated, can I say, hey, you're usually so patient. What's going on right now? What can I do to help you be more patient with your little brother Benjamin, who's probably throwing something at him or shooting him with a Nerf gun or something like that? So I like little activities like that you think about, and you get to think about your child and just incorporate that into your conversation that goes on in your home. So I think that's great.
And thinking about it ahead of time helps you be prepared when the situation actually arises that you can use it.
Yeah, because sometimes when my children aren't necessarily exercising patience, I have a harder time exercising patience as well.
Find your own patience, yeah. Right.
Yeah, so it's a great website.
Sounds like it. What events are coming up that maybe you want to talk about and share with our audience?
Yeah, we have two great events coming up. The first one is Parent University. So we're doing some Parent University sessions through Cleveland County Schools, but this specific one is going to focus on the 5 domains of Castle. And we have John Carlo Anselmo, who is a former Cleveland County Schools employee. He's now a professor at Winthrop. He's coming through, and the session's titled Practical Parenting Strategies for This Difficult World. So he's going to go through each of these domains of parenting. He's going to get in a little more depth, give some practical applications, what you can do at home with your child. Really excited about that. It's going to be on February 25th from 6:30 to 7:30 at Mount Calvary Baptist Church on Carolina Avenue in Shelby. Okay.
Do people need to register? How do they do that?
There's a registration. It's right on the Cleveland County Schools website.
Okay.
There's a little golden orange logo that they can click on.
Which is clevelandcountyschools.org.
That's right, clevelandcountyschools.org. Also, something we're planning for late March, early April, haven't settled on the date yet, is a community wellness fair at Burns Middle School. And so we're going to have a lot of different booths. We're going to talk about CRIM strategies. We're going to talk about Castle skills. And it's just, what can we do for our entire community? Because these skills aren't just things we need to practice with our students and tell kids they need to do, but the things that I can practice myself and I can reinforce at my home with my children. I can do them in my classroom. I can do them as a principal. These are things that we can do at all levels, and they're positive quality skills for us to have in place.
Absolutely. That's wonderful and exciting as a way to support our kids, but also just support and strengthen our community. So just great. And I appreciate you being here to share this information with us. And
thank you so much.
I appreciate the work that you're doing too.
Good luck. Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Stay with us. We'll have more after this. Welcome back to School Matters. Our second guest today is Julia DeSario, and she is the chorus teacher at Crest Middle School. Welcome to you. Thank you for being here. And you're also Miss Gastonia. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
All right, and we're going to talk about that and several things today, but before we get into that, if you don't mind, just share with our audience your background, talk about your education and your experience, if you will.
Absolutely. So I am originally a native of Spartanburg, South Carolina, and I am a recent graduate of Gardner-Webb University. Go Bulldogs. I graduated in December of 2018 with my BM in music education with a concentration in voice.
Wonderful. So why chorus? Obviously you sing, but talk about why chorus and why you got into education.
Absolutely. So I've known that I wanted to be a music teacher since I was in the 4th grade.
Wow.
And that has never changed. And I truly believe that that was God's calling on my heart before I even knew Him, which is crazy. So everything that I've done throughout my educational journey in public school and college has been to prepare for this career. And funny enough, I think that my formal training really took its roots in instrumental music. I started band when I was in the 6th grade, and I played trumpet all the way through middle school and high school and in college a bit as well. And I began my journey at Gardner-Webb as a trumpet major in education. So I was going to do band, and I took some voice lessons in high school, and I was very active in my chorus as well all throughout my education journey. But I just kind of felt the nudge and say, I think that chorus is where you're supposed to be. So I switched my concentration my freshman year of college, and that's where I am. I love voice, and I love instrumental music as well, and I think that both have such a special impact on the lives of students. But music just speaks to us in different ways. I think that it's really special that playing an instrument allows you to express something without words, and there's something beautiful about that. But I also love the flip side of that, where when you sing, you get to express something in a way that more people can connect with, I think, with lyrics. So there's just a little bit about that.
Yeah, very good. Talk about your students at Crest Middle School, the classes that you teach, and your instruction during the day. Just kind of give us a peek into your day at Crest Middle School.
It is fun. I love my students at Crest, and I feel so incredibly lucky to be a part of a team of fine educators at that school, especially my team of music teachers with Ms. Allison Velez and Mr. Justin Harper. They are fantastic people to work with. So a day in the life of Ms. DeSario at Crest Middle School. I teach about 120 students a day. Our program is growing, which is fantastic. The teacher that was there before me did a wonderful job of recruiting students for the 6th grade chorus. So we have about 53 students in our 6th grade chorus, which is a large class size.
Wow, yeah.
And they are a rambunctious bunch, but boy, do I love them. So my day starts out with 8th grade piano, and then 8th grade chorus, 7th grade chorus, 7th grade piano, 6th grade chorus, 6th grade piano. So we have a blast, and I can see their growth every single day, and that's just something that really ignites my fire as a teacher. It's something that just keeps you going on the hard days, is when you see your students get it. So
now, you recently had the honor and privilege of presenting at a conference, I believe. Let's talk about that a little bit. Tell us where that was and what you talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of educators in the state of North Carolina are members of the North Carolina Music Association. I'm sorry, I think I said that right. North Carolina NCM Music Educators Association. There it is.
Yes.
And that is just a professional development group where they provide a professional development conference every November in Winston-Salem. And I had just come fresh off of my graduation, and one of my professors encouraged me to share some of the things that I'd experienced in my student teaching semester at the professional development conference. And I was very skeptical. I didn't think that what I had to say was really important. I don't have a lot of experience in the classroom. But she told me something that I feel is very wise, and it's something that I will carry with me throughout my educational journey as a teacher as well. I don't think that our profession has to be people who are well seasoned teaching people who are new. I think that it can go both ways. I think that people who are earning their degrees and are fresh out of college have just as valuable of a voice and opinions as people who have been doing this for a while. And it's important for us to rely on each other. There are things that we can both teach each other. But I think it's cool that I had the opportunity to kind of flip the script a little bit and have that opportunity. And I was very honored. So I can share a little bit about my presentation and what it was about.
What did you talk about?
So my presentation was entitled Creating Meaningful Learning, Letting Students Guide Your Instruction. And I took my experiences from my student teaching semester and some of the things that I did during my time in elementary education after my degree. And just shared a little bit about how teachers can use information about their students, not just inside the classroom and data that we can collect on them about their learning, but just about who they are at their core as people, and use that to our advantage in the classroom to help further our instruction and just reach kids at a deeper level. A lot of what I did during my student teaching semester as I was completing my requirements, I began the semester by giving my students a survey that asked lots of questions about things that they enjoyed outside of the music classroom, things that they were involved in, their hobbies, things like that I was able to draw upon to create specific lesson plans for them that would engage them in a totally different way than I would have done had I not known that information about them. So for example, I did a lesson segment on posture and breathing with those students and how those are kind of the root issues that we face as musicians, and if we fix those things, then that kind of lines up a lot of other things. But I wanted to reach them in a different way than just a PowerPoint or a lecture or just demonstration. So we had a 5-lesson series of, I wrote a story for them because a lot of my students in that class specifically liked reading. So I wrote my own story for them that had the information in there that we could read together, and it had like little details about their class or about specific students in the class, and they really enjoyed that. And that engaged them in a really different way than it would have otherwise. We did an escape room. Those students liked games and puzzles, so I was like, how can I incorporate this into a way that's going to really engage them in this process? So, and then in my elementary school classes, I found I was having a really difficult time when I started my first year, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the position that I took had a lot of turnover. I was like the 5th music teacher that they had at that school in 4 years. So they have been used to people coming in and out, and I just think that the different styles of instruction that they had received made it really hard for them to latch on and really understand like what I was trying to get across to them. So I used a very similar technique in just surveying my kids and asking them about what they were interested in. And a lot of my students love sports, football specifically, and now I'm a football fan too, so I found that really fun. So we were able to create an experience called the Music Super Bowl, and we spent the 9-week time that I was with them doing drills and creating plays and putting them into small teams and running like routines and things like that for them to learn basic note values. And I gave them a pre-test at the beginning of the semester that said they were 3% and below on their amount of knowledge on how to read music or just the basic music notation symbols, and that's something that they should have gotten throughout their educational experience. So I was like, before I leave them, I want to make sure that they have something, you know, before they move on to middle school with my 5th graders. And the post-test showed that they were 78% of knowledge, of retention over those 9 weeks. And I would have been interested to do an experiment of just teaching it the regular old way. And comparing that data to see how much it impacted them. But I could tell that it made a really big difference.
Very interesting. I'm sure your students enjoy your classroom. It sounds like a lot of fun.
I'm hard on them, but they learn.
Well,
so.
but you still make it fun. I'm sure it sounds like. Well, let's talk about being Miss Gastonia. Congratulations, first of all. When did that happen? Talk about that experience.
Yeah, so I decided back in September, after hearing about the opportunity to participate in the Miss America organization and the Miss Gastonia scholarship competition, that it was something that I would enjoy doing. You know, who doesn't like to put on a pretty dress and perform their talent? I love to sing, so anytime I have the opportunity to do that, I'll do it, you know? And I also found out that the Miss America organization provides scholarships not only to further your education, but they recently made a change, and you can use that scholarship money to pay back some of your student loans as well. So as a Gardner-Webb graduate, I definitely have lots of student loans that I'm looking to pay back, and I just saw that as a great opportunity to earn some scholarship money and to advocate for a cause that I'm really passionate about and just represent my community. So
wonderful. So what's next now? What's the next phase of competition? It's not over, so.
No, yes, so the next competition will be in June in Raleigh. So we will finish teacher work days that Friday, and I will have to be in Raleigh on Sunday for a week-long competition for the Miss North Carolina title. And we'll compete in preliminaries all week, and then finals night will be that following Saturday, June 20th. So I'm just really looking forward for the opportunity to not only represent Gastonia, but to represent Cleveland County and education in Cleveland County schools at that platform, at that level.
Well, we're excited for you, and we can't wait to hear about the outcome and that next phase of the experience for you. You want to talk maybe about, if we go back to arts for a second, maybe talk about the importance of arts in our schools.
Absolutely. Not to give too much information, but I am somebody who came from an at-risk family. I came from a household where I shouldn't be where I am today, and I want to be somebody who can speak on behalf of all of the students who I know are at risk in our community, in our schools, here at home, and just say that the arts have completely changed my life. I would probably not even be here if it were not for music and the opportunities that were afforded to me through public school music programs. And I know that I speak on behalf of so many when I say that the arts are a crucial part of what we do in public schools. It provides students with the opportunity to grow, to emote, to express in a way that so many other things just don't have the opportunity to. And I think that in Cleveland County, especially between athletics and the arts, that's how we hook our students, that's how we retain them, and that's how we keep them. So I'm honored to be a part of that.
Absolutely. Well, as a chorus teacher, I'm sure there are performances. Talk about maybe some upcoming performance you want to give a plug to?
I will actually. Not necessarily a performance, but my music team and I are working on a collaborative project right now for the month of March. March is Music in Our Schools Month, and we are in the works of planning kind of like an interactive music night at Crest Middle School, kind of like an open house, and it will have lots of moving parts and opportunities for people to come in and experience and participate in that program that evening. The theme of the 2020 Music in Our Schools Month for this year is Music Changes Lives. So we're going to really center around that and feature some student testimonies about why what we're doing at Crest Middle School in our music programs is affecting our students and how it's positively affecting them and shaping them. So that will hopefully, I need to confirm that date, but I think it will be March 30th.
Okay.
And I'd love to share that information. Everyone is welcome, and we'd love to see you there.
Great, we'll be looking for that. Well, congratulations again on the Miss Gastonia, and thanks for the job that you do with your students and for also representing your profession and presenting at the conference as well. Great insight, and thanks for sharing your story too.
Thank you so much.
All right, and thank you for joining us today. Tune in again next time for another School Matters.
School Matters is a production of the Communications Department of Cleveland County Schools in conjunction with C19. For more information, visit our website at www.clevelandcountyschools.org.